Hi, my name is Ilkanic. I'm currently taking Philosophy 101 at Moraine Valley Community College, and this is my multi-phase research assignment. The topic for my assignment was gun control and whether or not it should be supported or eradicated. My original stance on this position was in opposition toward gun control and in favor of gun rights. This was because I grew up with a lot of police officers and military personnel in my family, so we kind of just considered guns as a part of life. However, after conducting my research for this project, I formed a slightly different opinion. I still believe that American people should have the right to guns. However, I recognize guns may actually cause more of a problem than I originally thought. And a lot of these articles proved otherwise. First, let's discuss the reasons we can no longer go on maintaining gun rights in the U.S. as they are. I originally believed guns didn't have that great an impact on crimes and violence in the U.S. as they're said to. However, through my research, I found I was wrong. Many of these articles prove that to be true, displaying the violence and gun control are inversely related. This is expressed in the article Firearm Ownership and Violent Crime by Ron Kennedy Bailey, stating a total of 39,740 people were killed by guns in the U.S. in 2018, an average of 109 people per day. This figure includes 24,432 deaths by suicide, 13,958 by homicide, as well as stating areas in the U.S. with higher levels of firearm ownership have higher rates of firearm violence, and lastly stating in 2018 a total of 458 people died by unintentional firearm injuries, more than one person a day. This statement from the article proves just how impactful firearms can be and just how deadly they are. In addition to this, the article Association Between Gun Violence Reforms and Intentional Firearm Death in Australia, 1979 through 2013, by Simon Chapman, also supports this idea that the presence of guns can lead to an increase in crime, and the implications of gun control laws reduce this number, stating in 2018, in the 18 years before the ban, there were 13 mass shootings, whereas in the 20 years following the ban, no mass shootings occurred. And the decline of total firearm deaths accelerated, as well stating from 1979 to 1996, the mean rate of total firearm death was 3.6 per 100,000 population, whereas from 1997 to 2013, after the gun law reforms, the mean rate of total firearm death was 1.2 per 100,000 population, average decline of 4.9% per year, providing evidence that gun control does work and that the presence of guns in society does indeed lead to an increase in gun crimes and violence, displaying a very apparent need for gun control. Despite this, however, I still believe Americans should have the right to bear arms. So, secondly, let's now discuss the reasons I believe we must continue to maintain gun rights in the Second Amendment in America. Why do I still believe in the right for American people to bear arms? Well, what I found through my research is that the Second Amendment isn't there simply for show, for people to own guns. It was included throughout our history for a reason, and that reason is still relevant to us today. The importance of gun rights throughout history is supported in the article The Right to Carry Our Gun Outside, a snapshot history by Malcolm Joyce Lee, which states, England's reliance on an armed population was necessary for the security of its citizens. England did not have a standing army until the late 17th century, or a professional police force until the 19th century. An Englishman, therefore, had a host of peacekeeping duties. First came self-defense. It was these rights that the Revolutionary War was fought to preserve. After 1689, these rights included the right incorporated in the English Bill of Rights. The dangers in life in the American wilderness made the English practice of armed citizenry essential. In many colonies, all households were ordered to be armed. These quotes show the necessity for the right to bear arms in our history, but how is it still relevant to us today? The article Self-Defense and Gun Regulation for All by David Carries explains this, stating, the Second Amendment was intended and should be interpreted to implement the individual and collective right to self-defense against the attacks by others. There's considerable disagreement about the source of danger, the others who are attacking. Most people who support gun rights see the danger stemming from criminals, youths, and mentally deranged people. Some fear violent political movements. Additionally, the article Why Gun Rights Are Essential in a World of Uncertainty and Scarcity by Aaron Tao expresses the need for the Second Amendment today, stating many violent crimes take place and are over in a matter of seconds, and stopped in seconds that prevent the worst. As another popular saying goes, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. The United States, depending on where you live, police response time ranges from 9 minutes to over an hour. Right now, 1 in 5 New York police officers are currently out sick due to COVID-19. Police in multiple states have announced they will no longer respond to theft, burglary, and break-ins. Given the current climate, it's unreasonable to assume police would take much longer to arrive, if they should arrive at all. Not only is the right to bear arms part of our history, but it's also prevalent to us today, keeping us safe and defending us from whatever may want to harm us. So far, we've covered the reasons why we should no longer maintain gun rights as they are, emphasizing the importance and the effects gun control laws have, as well as the reasons why we must continue to support to maintain our right to bear arms, emphasizing the importance of gun rights through our history and why they're needed today. So based on the information we've covered, which side of the debate do I stand on now? The answer is actually both. Despite their dramatic differences, supporters of gun rights do believe that certain gun restrictions should be put in place, and supporters of gun control do acknowledge that guns are part of American culture. We can see this in the article Self-Defense and Gun Regulation for All by David Carries, an article I used to defend gun rights, when the author states, guns are so easily available to criminals, youths, and mass murderers because of the lack of serious regulations of the gun market. While the problem is usually framed in terms of illegal guns, it resides more accurately and persistently with what's shockingly legal, showing supporters of gun rights advocating for gun laws. This idea is also shown in the article What We Can Do to Stop It by Sean Gregory, an article used to counter my original stance stating the right to bear arms is enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, and there are approximately 265 million privately owned guns in the U.S., according to researchers from Northeastern and Harvard universities. Any sensible discussion about American gun violence problems must acknowledge that guns aren't going away. We have to admit to ourselves that in a country with so many guns, progress is going to be measured incrementally, says Jeff Swanson, showing supporters of gun control advocating for the right to bear arms. Through these articles, it becomes obvious that individuals on both sides of the debate agree that there is a need for gun control as well as gun regulations, as well as for the Americans to have the right to bear arms. And that's where I stand. I believe that American people should continue to have the right to bear arms, but that new and better gun control regulations should be put in place to reduce violence, reducing gun violence but upholding the right to bear arms. It's integral for America to keep the right to bear arms. It's important for our safety, and it's part of our history. It is our right, and we should continue to support it and defend it. However, the necessity for gun control is very apparent in our history. We need better reforms to lessen the violence of gun control and keep our cities safe. Thank you.